Hello, 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 hello. Hi, everyone. This is a different angle so that people can see more of the ambiance of my apartment. Hopefully, everyone is doing well. Let's say a quick hello. If you don't like me saying hi to people, then you can come back in about 2 minutes. All right. Hi, Noelle, Noelle. Thank you so much for moderating today. Sharon, hello and welcome from Spokane. I'm thinking about buying property or moving to a small town in California to save money for retirement. So if anybody knows of a good little small town in Northern California that's cheap, let me know. Because I'm kind of thinking I would like to have an American base as well. What do you guys think? Sound good? Hello, Sharon. Hi, Judy. Let's see. Judy is here. Diane, Margie. Hello, welcome. Sharon is here. Diane, welcome. Hello, hello, Pamela. All right. So, hi, Wayne. Hi, Coriel. Good to see you. And Peggy's here. Nice to see you. Impish Artist is here. Ona's Tarot. Very good. We've got another moderator. All right, so I want to talk a little bit before we get started about some of the remotes. My remotes have been kind of all over the place. And sometimes I get remotes and I think, why did I get that remote? Some of the remotes are kind of complicated. And some of them are pretty dark and kind of awful. The first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk a little bit about the current administration and also to see what other remote viewers are picking up when they go into the field for this presidency. When I go into the energy in a remote for the Donald Trump presidency, it feels as if it's already cut in stone. It feels to me like it feels over. It's interesting because I think about it like a Kabbalist in the sense that in Kabbalah or in Jewish mysticism, we have this idea of things existing in another nature of being, or things existing in the energetic realm, or in the world of energy and thought forms. And then the collective works together with these thought forms to manifest or create them in this dimension. And so that's basically the field that we go into when we're meditating. We're trying to get some information about the collective, what the collective is thinking, what decisions the collective is making. So for me, going into the energy, this presidency is over. There's already an awareness that this presidency is over. And so getting to a point where we start to see in this dimension those decisions made and expressed is probably going to be happening over the next 2.5 months. And we're going to start seeing things really falling apart by February. And one of the most unpleasant aspects of this February fall is that people are going to start looking at money, and the GOP is going to start looking at their finances and the money that they have wasted on this candidate. So be aware that not only is the GOP going to be cutting off its relationship with this presidency, but they're also going to be you're going to start seeing within the next couple of months complaints about the money, complaints about where the GOP is going to be placing its money. It's rather unpleasant. So that was the first thing that I saw in the remote. The whistleblower and Adam Schiff, I think everything is going to be okay. I don't think it really matters. And I think that the GOP is going to start protecting the whistleblower. Hi, Michelle. I'm glad you're here. Done by Christmas? Yeah, I think that there's going to be a very serious conversation between this president. Hi, Nora. Between this president and his family come Christmas time. But uh, it goes back to previous remotes that there would come a situation that Bill Barr would not be able to rescue this presidency from, and I think that we're starting to see that. Um, and I think of Lindsey Graham as like a lady in waiting. That's kind of how I think of him. The lady in waiting who takes the lady out when she's about to be executed. I keep thinking about Anne Boleyn's execution or Catherine Howard's execution, where the ladies in waiting, were there till the very end, all the way to the executioner's block. And you put your head there, and it's been nice knowing you. Good luck. The person that stays till the bitter end, stays in the cell with the royal and awaits the fate, and then solemnly takes them to the executioner's block and says, "Go with God." So that is kind of how it's always been. There's been a core group of people that stay till the very end, and that seems to be Lindsey Graham's function. Now, why or how he got this gig, I don't know. But, defending his client until the very end, that seems to be Lindsey Graham. I don't get that from Mitch McConnell. I think Mitch McConnell is exactly the same as he was before, sitting in his little cubby waiting for the GOP to tell him what they want to do. And when they're ready to bail, which they should be ready to bail in a very short 2.5 weeks. I mean, how much public hearings or how much public humiliation is the GOP ready to undergo before they, call in the, I don't know what, throw in the towel. Now, the other remote viewing that I got, I don't know why, has to do with the royal family again. Don't ask me. I don't do remotes on the royal family. But for whatever reason, maybe I'm trusted, or maybe somebody in Meghan's family gets a kick out of me. I don't know how or why, but I keep getting pulled in to the royal family. So the first is a dream I had that I had a couple months ago, and that was Harry and Meghan. I think it might have actually been last year. I had a dream of them. And I got to, in spirit state or dream state, I got to talk to Harry all of 30 seconds in the dream. And it reminds me of a dream I had with Donald Trump, where I got to talk to him for all of 30 seconds. In the dream with Donald Trump, he was surrounded by people that were all trying to get his attention. And I was waiting in line to talk to him, and I got the equivalent of 1 to 2 minutes. And I asked him if he would make sure that there were more women, that he would hire more women. He said he would, and that he liked my energy. And that was it. That was the entire first introduction energetically in a dream state that I had with Donald Trump. It lasted 2 minutes. I had a similar dream with Harry and Meghan. And in this dream, it was the same thing. They were at some event. Everybody was trying to talk to him. I was really impressed by his boundaries, that when the conversation is over with him, it's over. That was the first impression I got from him. But I got a direct quote from him. And the direct quote I got was, "I love my family very much, but I have a lot of strange ideas about a lot of things." That was the direct quote. "I love my family very much, but they have a lot of strange ideas about a lot of things." So why do I keep getting this, what appears to be unimportant information about these folks that I don't really have any relationship with? And I think it has, when I follow the energy of the attacks on Meghan Markle, I followed the energy back to the tabloids. And when I followed the energy back to the tabloids, I followed it to whoever was manufacturing these stories, and I traced it back to the Tories, and specifically back to elements of the pro-aristocracy Tories that had some very strange eugenic ideas. So this goes back all the way to Queen Victoria and Sir Francis Galton. I did a thesis on this. Oh, thank you so much, Holly. I appreciate that. I'm hoping to continue to do good things for people if I'm allowed to. So thank you. Thank you for the support. So basically what it appears like to me as a remote viewer is that you have a certain group of people. Oh, thank you, Corio. Thank you so much. And thank you for the coffee. I have my coffee right here. So there is a section of the British aristocracy, diehard supporters of the British aristocracy, that don't want the British aristocracy to lose power. They do believe in the bloodlines. They do believe that that royals are superior. They do believe that the peasants need to stay peasants. They do believe that this is the natural order. These are the people that funded the making of Downton Abbey, that things were better when random people were in charge of other people, and there was this manufactured classism. So that group of people are the people that own the tabloids or put money and stories into the tabloids that keep what they call the natural order. Paradise Lost. They want to bring paradise back. And so in order to do that, they need the peasants to be on their side. They need the poor to be on their side. So what they do is they manufacture these tabloid stories that keep the peasants enamored with aristocracy, enamored with classism, and hostile towards anything that would be reform or moderation. And so they create these silly little stories. And literally the function is to drive out anybody who's a person of color, a person that doesn't fit in with the royals, anybody who's a reformer, so that they never again make the mistake of thinking that they can reform the royal family or bring modernism or equality to Britain, because they feel that that would destroy the natural order and that things would lead to chaos. So within the context of what's happening to Meghan Markle, there's actually something deep and political going on in the Commonwealth and in Great Britain. And that is that the people, yet again, are running another revolution. This is one of the reasons why Elizabeth Warren is a threat to the GOP. This is why Bernie Sanders is a threat to the GOP. It's that there's this growing awakening or awareness amongst the poor that millionaires and billionaires don't own Christianity. Their interpretation, which usually has something to do with money. They basically, the people with the wealth, the people with the tabloids, the people with the newspapers are the ones that are controlling the narrative. They're the ones that are interpreting what it is to be a real Christian, which means not to be a loser, right? You have to have lots and lots of money, or God has not shown favor on you. You have to be chosen. So in the middle of all of that, you have Harry and Meghan getting married. So what was interesting to go into Harry's energy, first impression when I went in over a year, it was about a year ago. I think they were over, either it was before they were married or they had already gotten married. What was interesting about going into, thank you very much, Carol. What was interesting about going into that energy was that he appeared in the remote or in the energetic state. Harry was more liberal than I was. It was almost like the royal secret. He's practically a socialist. I mean, he doesn't believe in all this royal nonsense because it's a tradition and it makes his family happy, and because he wanted to celebrate his marriage, and he thinks a little ritual is not a bad thing. But you go into his energy, Harry, and he's like a Birkenstock, peace-loving hippie. The people of the world unite. Using education. Education is the great equalizer as far as Harry's concerned. He's very concerned about education. He's very grateful for the education he received. He's mobilized in terms of making sure that education is not used as a weapon against vulnerable poor people. He is going to dedicate his life to education, and this is why Harry and Meghan may leave England, because they really don't. This is not their thing. Contrary to what people may think about Meghan Markle, it actually, she's over it. I mean, what did she amass $35 million as an actor? She's got plenty of her own money. She doesn't need any of this. So it was, but that's not the real story, and that's not why I did the remote, and that's not why the energy was so strong. It's really about this consistent. It's this consistent way in which aristocrats control the poor through the media, and specifically the tabloids. And anytime you read a story in the tabloids, who wrote the story, who manufactured it, and what was their agenda? And their agenda is to keep royalty for the royals, to keep the poor poor, to keep people under their thumb, to keep people ignorant and controlled, to keep people enamored by the royal family. And then in the middle of that, when you go into Queen Elizabeth's energy, she believes that you have to have a figurehead or something that is the common ethos, that holds you to the common ethos, but she's also a reformer. You know, she doesn't believe that one race is, she doesn't believe in any of that race stuff. She's quite progressive, which is why she liked Meghan, and she thought that the country was ready for it. She knew it was going to be a problem, but so you have that dynamic happening. So I don't know how it's going to play itself out, but be prepared in the coming years to see Harry start to let everybody know what he really thinks. And what he really thinks is that he's more liberal than his wife, quite frankly, from what I saw. I mean, he's really, this is somebody who has served alongside his brothers in Afghanistan, people from the poorest of poor families, people who risked their lives with him. And that's his family. Those are his mates. That's his fate. It's to be with the people. It's going to be interesting to see over the next couple of years, because both of them have a totally different way of looking at the world. But that's why they're at war with the tabloids, because when they're at war with the tabloids, they're really at war with this eugenics, white supremacist group, which, by the way, started all of this. It was all started in England under the Victorians, under Sir Francis Galton, the cousin of, he was the cousin of Charles Darwin. And he was the one that promoted the idea that the aristocrats are genetically superior, and that people of African heritage, Jews, etc., were inferior. So that philosophy starts to grow as socialism begins to grow in England, and it was created in order to suppress the masses. So of course they're going to hold on to the tabloids and promoting this agenda, because that's the function. The function is to get peasants to love the aristocrats and hate people of color that marry into the, so they can keep their agenda. That's what I saw. So yeah. So let's go ahead and, well, the original bloodline was African. No, it's really more about it goes all the way back to shamanism, and you had rank. Even in early civilization of gatherers and hunters, you had some rank, you had a chief, and it probably comes out of that. So it's something very inherent in human beings. You have to have a leader. It's just a lot of people feel that democracy is contrary to human nature, and that we have to actually work at it. All right, let's go ahead and do some blitzes. Anybody want to do some blitzes? We got about 30 minutes. Let's start with the Trump presidency. I feel it's over, but let's go ahead. We'll go in and we'll take a look. And then after that, before Trump, oh, thank you for the trees. Oh, we've had 10 tree babies. Thank you very much. Also, we're still selling t-shirts. They're quite lovely. Support Michael's art. He's a very brilliant artist. And you'll like the t-shirt. All right, let's do a simple prayer. I want to call on white light protection for myself and my viewers as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Give us the clarity and the wisdom needed to empower our viewers so that we can all make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, for the people we love, and for the planet. With that I say amen. Let's go in. Let me write these down. Okay. Oh, the hearings. Yeah, I'll check to see how the hearings are going when I go into this presidency. What's going on with the Trump presidency and with Donald Trump? They want to depose Donald Trump. They want to interview him. There's another investigation, and they want him under oath, testifying about the phone call. That's the first thing I'm getting. Because when I go into this energy, he's refusing to answer questions, and he has to go talk to his lawyers. So somebody is saying to Mr. Trump that they basically, we're going to see, they're attempting to do what they did to Clinton, which is to get him on tape, under oath, answering questions. Walking away. 5 of Swords. Walking away from a battle he can't win. 3 of Cups. I think he's already thinking about his exit plan. I know that he's doing some research into starting a reality TV show already. So we could be looking at him resigning. 5 of Swords is to walk away from a battle you can't win. And then 3 of Cups, a celebration. What's interesting about Trump is that he doesn't lose. He merely changes his mind. He could try and come up with a way to get out of this and say, you know, I just changed my mind because it was becoming too politically, you know, they drove me out. Where he's at right now, 10 of Swords, devastation, can't win, can't get ahead, darkest before the light, coming into power. So this is somebody who some devastating thing is happening that he's being driven away from, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's almost like he could be given an out. He's hooked on something. This is an addiction card. It's in the 3rd house. There's some aspect of his life right now where he feels like he can't get away from certain relationships, either with drugs, alcohol. The question was about his being president, so he might have trouble leaving for whatever reason. Doing research or trying to figure out what his next move is. There's a Hermit card in the 4th house. This is all about securing his finances, going it alone. Possibly he's going to be talking to lawyers, but it's also about him trying to salvage or protect himself financially. Yeah. Ace of Pentacles in the 7th house. An offer. He wants to be assured that his finances are going to be okay. This is someone who's going to who is probably already preparing to resign or is looking for a way out. He's already looking for a way out, but he wants to now secure his finances. I don't think he thinks he's going to go to jail. I think he's concerned about his money. Yeah, he wants to get out of the White House and take care of his business. So again, what might not be happening publicly, what might not be happening, what people might not be, it looks publicly like they're still fighting, but when you go into Trump's Akashic records, when you go into the records, he's already trying to negotiate a way out with as little legal consequences as possible, and he's trying to save his business, and he's already looking at another reality TV show. So for him, it's how do I get out of this in the least he's good at slipping out of things. He's trying to figure out how to get out. I don't think Putin's a story anymore, because I think that the Americans already have everything. And I think that via the Ukraine, contacts in the Ukraine, I think that there were certain people that got copies of Epstein handed tapes to people he trusted. And I think that's part of why he took his own life, was so that certain people that were using Epstein's information in order to blackmail and compromise people of interest, that scheme is probably what Epstein was trying to protect. That's how it looks. Okay, so people had asked about RBG. Let's go ahead and see how. I've been thinking a lot about her lately, about be a lady and be self-reliant. Don't rely on anybody but yourself. That way you won't be bitter and angry. He said he was going to mow the lawn. If you're self-reliant and you don't expect anybody else to do it for you, you won't become angry and bitter. You just say, okay, I'm on my own. That's RBG. No need to become angry. Ladies must be self-sufficient. Except when it comes to cooking. Right? Marty is the cook in the family. All right. Oh, she's concentrating on her health, and she's also consolidating her energy. So for RBG right now, her health is such that she cannot, she has really constricted her hours, or she's hung up things that she can no longer do. She's trying to conserve her energy because of her health. There are some things, yeah, it's all about her health and hanging up. Look, anything extraneous, any extra activities, she's going to let those go, because she's now realizing that she's got 4 good hours a day or 5 good hours a day. She's being very good with her time management. She's still a scholar. You can see the Hermit card right over her. What's interesting every time I go into the remotes about RBG is just how profoundly she has affected Kavanaugh and really made him excited. He's very excited now to be the best constitutional lawyer he can be. She really has inspired him, because she's not someone who plays a blame and name game. She's someone who is very much dedicated to her self-reliance, to taking responsibility for her life, her choices, being an adult, having her act together, and encouraging that in other women, so that we make empowered decisions. It makes her a really remarkable person. And just her brilliance and her scholarship alone is something to admire. Every time I go in and I look at the tax returns, and I try to do remotes to get into the Supreme Court, I don't feel when I go into RBG's energy that she has any justification for why the Supreme Court should hear this case. She doesn't. There are far more interesting cases on the docket. There are far more interesting cases, as far as Ginsburg is concerned, that desperately need their attention than the case of Donald Trump and his taxes. It's not relevant. And as far as she's arguing, the Supreme Court should reject it. So there's so many other cases. There's so much going on in the courts right now that need attention. That isn't one of the cases. They're going to be ruling on some very serious things. You can see the justice card coming in. But look at how many cases they've got to decide. She's got a lot on her plate. I could see her retiring within 5 to 6 months, but to be honest with you, I think we're going to see a Pence presidency in 5 to 6 months. What he's going to be able to pull off, I don't know. I don't even know if Pence is going to be able to put. He might be able to put somebody on the bench, but yeah, I think we're going to see a Pence presidency in about 5 to 6 months, probably before then. And I see RBG retiring probably in less than a year. But I wouldn't be too nervous about it because everything in the end is going to work out. You've got some nice Six of Wands energy moving in over the Justice, victory over the Justice, 6 month time period. She's trying to consolidate her energy so that she can get to everything. You can see a Seven of Cups here in the seventh house. Too many choices, too many cases, conflicts that, hopes and fears, being able to resolve the work. Health forces her to hang up certain things, possibly eventually within 6 months, this the Supreme Court, but it also could be just consolidating your energy. Will Pelosi be the president? We could take a look at that. All right, Spirit. What is going on with the beautiful Nancy Pelosi? Nancy Pelosi. It's a lovely woman. Moscow Mitch. In terms of Moscow Mitch, what hurt him isn't about Trump. It's about the local politics when you go into the energy, and it's about the economy in Kentucky, and it's about infrastructure in Kentucky and stuff that he ignored or said he was going to take care of, that they feel that he abandoned his responsibilities to Kentucky in terms of infrastructure, employment, etc. And that's really why people want to get rid of Mitch McConnell. It's not about Trump from their perspective. It's about his obligations to the state. So that's why they're mad at him. It's something separate of whether they like Trump or not is not. It's about what he did. Pelosi, Seven of Cups, moving in with a Judgment card. So when you go into Nancy Pelosi's energy, it's like the more responsibility you're willing to take on, the more responsibility people will give you. If you are irresponsible and you aren't capable of taking any responsibility for your life, people know not to call you, right? It's like, I can't call him, he's not reliable. But if you say, I am reliable and I can do this, then people call you and say, great, can you take on some more work? Yes, I'm reliable. Great, can you take on some more work? Yes, I'm reliable. So what has happened to Nancy Pelosi energetically is because she's the biggest adult in the room, or she's the person that appears to be the most reliable, she's the person that's being given the most responsibility. So in addition to everything else she's dealing with this impeachment, there's an aspect that she now has to deal with that has to do with the military, the budget, and concerns that the military has about the budget, and concerns. There's certain ways in which the government works that requires certain types of protocol, and that protocol is not happening under this administration. Basic, simple stuff that's obvious that you have to do in order to make sure that the business of Washington runs smoothly. Even the most easiest parts of that are not happening. And so that means that if more and more stuff is getting dumped on Nancy Pelosi. So everybody, am I explaining that okay? So it just feels like everything is piling up in Congress on Nancy Pelosi, and people are contacting her when certain things don't get taken care of. And certain things don't get taken care of because other branches of DC are dropping the ball. That's the best way to describe the energy. Let's go in. Four of Swords, time of contemplation. She's got a lot on her plate. Look at all this. This is a lot. This is a person who's got a lot of decisions to make. The adults in the room have begun to start talking to Nancy Pelosi. That's the best way to describe this. The generals, they want to know who to talk to. Who's the adult? And so that's why it's all falling on her. They don't even know who's going to be in charge in 6 months. She's traveling some more. She's got to travel again. She's traveling in the United States to check on certain things, and she's also going to be traveling to look at the troops again. You can see a travel card coming in. It's almost like the presidency falling apart is not even her main concern right now. Her main concern is getting all of this work done, making sure that DC is running smoothly, because she's not getting any help. That seems to be maybe because we're in Mercury retrograde. It's like the women aren't getting any help. We're on our own. It's like the men have abandoned ship, and the ladies are trying to clean the mess up, whether it's RBG in the Supreme Court or it's Nancy Pelosi. But it's this theme of realizing, okay, you can't be there, you can't do this, okay. Finding out who can do what, so that, because she's left with all of this. You know, she's going to have to start saying no. She's going to have to start establishing some boundaries. But look at this fleeing. Trump's taking the money. He's starting a business. He's out of there. What I like about Pelosi is that she has appropriate boundaries, but she's traveling, and she's going to be talking with. She's trying to prevent another stalemate. I think the president will agree not to close the business of DC if he gets what he wants. And what he wants is a good deal leaving. That's what it looks like. He wants an exit strategy. He's already looking at an exit strategy. Other people's children. All right. Somebody had asked me to look at Barr. I had him written down also. So Barr next. What do the moderators think? What does Michelle and Noel think? What should be our next throw? Yes, Barr. Okay. Michelle is a moderator. All right. What is going on with Barr? Is Barr going to... I think Barr's out of there. What is going on with Barr? Five of Pentacles. Do you all think that looks good? Five of Pentacles is a situation that's depicted as exile, trying to get away from, trying to get into the church. The lights are on in the church, but you're out in the snow, trying to get back into, after having been in a situation. Yeah, you're right, Michelle. Good call, Michelle. Michelle's ready to be my standby. Yeah, Five of Pentacles, I call it walking away from the broken man. That's kind of how I remember it, because I kept getting this card when I was like in love with this boy 20 years ago, or I thought I was, and I kept getting that call. But it was really about the fact that I had kind of lost myself in the relationship. It's about returning back to the self, but back to one's ethos, back to one's values, and not being pulled away from one's ethos by something outside yourself. It reminds me of that saying by Oprah Winfrey, that the voices outside will drown out the voice of God. So that's the dilemma of the Five of Pentacles. It's when you're looking out at something outside of yourself, and then you become disconnected from your own voice. It's Mercury retrograde, so it doesn't surprise me that a lot of people are going through this. And then you can see the second is a Three of Pentacles, an offer, a contract. It can be a change in real estate. But I often think of Three of Pentacles as a 3-week period, right? Pentacles are weak cards. But Three of Pentacles is about offering somebody a contract or a deal or an arrangement in response to a desire, maybe to buy property or a contract of a new job. But there's contracts coming in, and an exile card. I don't think that Barr can protect this president anymore. His world appears to be getting smaller and smaller. See how I did that? Pulled the card. I saw the vision, and then I see. Yeah, so it's a feeling of being restricted when you go into this energy. Like his duties have become smaller and smaller and smaller, and there's not only is there very little that Barr can do, but when he attempts to do his job, there's kind of a retreat here or a feeling of restriction. What is above him? The Lover's card. It has something to do, it keeps using imagery about one's covenant or relationship with God or spirituality versus one's business or one's day-to-day work. There's Trump. He's distancing himself from this presidency. He can't help this president anymore. This is beyond him. That's not saying he's going to resign. He's simply going to recuse himself or distance himself from this and try and continue to hold on to being AG for the time being. Yeah, I mean, it just feels to me like his job, he's talking about wanting to run the Justice Department, wanting to do his work, distancing himself from the president's latest problem because his job is becoming more constricted. He's focusing on his job more. But I see Trump losing a valuable ally. I don't think Barr is going to be an ally to this president the way he was in the past. Instead, it's oh no, I'm not the president's lawyer. I'm the AG. That doesn't concern me. That's what it looks like. It's more that the first thing we're going to start seeing from Barr is that he is not going down with the ship. He's retreating. He may eventually resign, but for now, he's simply retreating. All right, so people had asked about the Anonymous. When I go into the energy of Anonymous, it just feels like it was a series of interviews by a group of people. It wasn't one person. It was a compilation of stories by a lot of people. And I think a lot of those people have left. And the reason why they did it that way and made it generic and mixed it all together is so that it couldn't be attributed to one person. But I think it's several people. I think it's people. What's interesting is that remember when we did a remote viewing on Mike Pence, and Mike Pence had said, I had an insurance policy, we all did. Mike Pence had an insurance policy. He protected himself legally. So did Kellyanne. So did a lot of people. They were basically given a card and told, call if you see anything unusual. People were wearing a wire. People were wearing wires, people were documenting, people were doing it so that they wouldn't face legal problems in the future, so that they would have some protection. And I think it's now coming out that Pence was one of those people. When I did the remote a couple years ago, and I said that I felt Mike Pence had a deal and was wearing a wire, it sounded absurd. It sounded like I was crazy, and maybe I am crazy. I don't know. But now it's coming out that Rosenstein asked him to wear a wire, and now it's coming out in the last 2 days that Pence had agreed to wear a wire and had agreed to Article 25. So I don't know. It looked to me, like I said, like an insurance policy that he and Bannon and others had, and Kelly, to cooperate with the intelligence agencies and protect themselves legally because they really had no choice. So, I mean, the remote is kind of sad, but that's how it looks from a remote perspective. All right, so yes, I'll go ahead and look at Pence, but good. I think Jeff Sessions is finished. Okay, I think Pompeo. God, I kind of feel bad for Pompeo. So, did people want me to do Mike Pence or Pompeo first, or something else? I Khashoggi. Oh God, that was crazy too. The Khashoggi thing. Bloomberg, Pence, Pompeo, Bloomberg, Pompeo. I know Michelle wants to see Pence. Bloomberg, it'd be interesting to see. Let's do Bloomberg first because he just is looking into it. It makes sense because they're worried about an Elizabeth Warren presidency. I think she'll gain speed. I think they're very afraid of her because she's doing a populist. If she goes into the cornfields of Iowa and the poor areas with soybean farmers and the daughter of a janitor, of course they're going to like her. She's on their side. Okay, let me just look at. Are we doing Pence first? Is that what we agreed to? Now I'm getting confused. Let's do Pence. We'll do Pence and then we'll do Bloomberg. Okay, what's going on with Pence? Okay, so basically, Pence has been told to lay low. Here's what I'm getting. Pence was told to lay low and allow the intelligence agencies to take over from here, and they thanked him for his cooperation. Evidently, he handed over a bunch of stuff. His department in general, the Pence, his staff were cooperating. They were doing a lot more to help with the investigation than people realize. And so at this point, he's been advised by people in the know to lay low and just let nature take its course. That's the best way to describe it. Coming into his power, Ace of Wands. So all he has to do now, Pence, is to lay low, let this whole thing settle, keep himself safe, stay out of the public watch, and wait until he has to take the presidency. That is the best way to describe this. An offer, refusing an offer. Step. This was hard for him. This was a really hard experience for him. He's actually communicating with Pelosi. He's been advised not to talk, and he's been advised to let the intelligence agencies handle everything, and they're aware of his cooperation in the past, and Pelosi is aware to some extent, and it's probably going to save him. I still see a possible brief presidency for him, but I see a better relationship with Nancy Pelosi behind the curtains than people realize. Wow. God, it's like Peyton Place. All right. Let's do Bloomberg. Is Bloomberg going to do well in the elections? Is Bloomberg going to win? Is Bloomberg going to win? Is Bloomberg going to win? What's Bloomberg going to do? Okay, we'll do Pompeo next after this. There's cards about international work, money, international. This is somebody who is concerned about the global economy. He's not just worried about the United States. This is money, this is international relationships, and this is also our international standing. So he sees the picture not only in relationship to how things are going on at home. The concern I have for Bloomberg is there's a disconnect. It's like he's focusing on how things are going at home or abroad, or how our standing is abroad, our international relationships, but I don't think he understands how bad things are for the average American citizen. Struggles, strife, crash. He looks more like an activist and a lobbyist and someone that's going to be an important part of the discussion. I think he's very worried about the future of who's going to run. He could theoretically endorse somebody. He likes Booker. It looks like he's okay with Booker. He's okay with Buttigieg. I think he would be okay with Klobuchar, but this is King of Pentacles. This is working with another man. So he would likely, if he doesn't run, he's going to endorse a male candidate. That's what it looks like. Either Cory Booker, he would probably endorse, or Pete Buttigieg, if he decides not to run. There are problems with him running. There are problems that are going to come up that are going to make it difficult for him to run. But he could be somebody who strongly endorses a moderate. Okay, so of course he's worried. Yeah, Michelle. I think he's worried about Warren. Okay, let's look at Pompeo. What is going on with Pompeo? How do people like this angle? It's nice, right? Because you can see the art, and it's better, right? More pretty. Okay, what is going to be with the cards are easy to read. It's so true that during a retrograde, you can read cards really easily. I don't know why. It's because there's so much congestion. Maybe that's it. I don't know. What's going on with Pompeo? Leaving on a jet plane. We have a Chariot there, Ace of Pentacles. He's given an opportunity to leave. That doesn't look too good. I'm telling you, this administration is done. He's going to get subpoenaed. He has to leave. Look at that. Worst cards in the world are Pompeo's cards. Heartbreak, crash, right over him. They've got access to private documents by Pompeo that are going to be legally damning for him. Trump is making a deal and Pompeo isn't going to be part of it. So Pompeo could be one of the fall guys. Pompeo could wind up in jail while Trump gets off scot-free and gets a sweetheart deal and leaves and goes off and becomes a reality TV star again. He's getting seduced. Trump's getting seduced to take some kind of a deal to avoid prison, and Pompeo is going to be one of the fall guys. Pompeo is going to be blamed for what happens in the State Department. Isn't this a nightmare? Lady Justice, they're opening up everything. What all did you do in the State Department? If he can't show any evidence tracing it back to Trump, and if Trump is going to be given an off-ramp out, even if Pompeo writes a biography and tells everything and talks about how he was manipulated, etc., he's still in serious trouble. He's in a lot of trouble. To the point where Trump will say, well, I didn't know he was up to that at the State Department. There's no evidence that I knew anything about it. Sorry, Pompeo, you're out. Jeez. Crazy. All right, so we have a little bit more time. I think one more throw because we're at 57 minutes. So I'll do whatever anybody wants to do, but the cards, yeah. The cards are really easy today. Look how easy they are to read. I mean, look at this. This is Pompeo. It's all falling apart. What I thought was interesting when you went into Pence would like retreat, stand back, let the lawyers, let the intelligence agencies take over. You've done your job, Mr. Pence. You can step away now. Just keep your head down. Okay, Jared. All right, I can look at Jared. Khashoggi. Well, Khashoggi's linked to Jared, but I do want to check on Jared because I think he's in some serious trouble as well. All right, what is going on with Jared Kushner? What is going on with Jared Kushner? He's got a temper. Spoiled. 7 of Wands coming in with an 8 of Wands. So this means more subpoenas or more strife, more defending himself against accusations. He's under attack. 7 of Wands coming at you means not only is he under attack, but possibly from there's multiple attacks. Strife. There's a reinvigoration of examination of him. Keeping his head down. This is somebody who's trying to stay out of trouble. It keeps talking about multiple attacks, confusion also, 7 of Cups in the 3rd house. Jeez, he's in trouble. There's a judgment coming. Yeah, he's going to have to make a deal. He's going to have to plead or something. You can see a deal happening, a contract, and you can see a judgment coming down. Hopes and fears, the devil card with the 2 of swords. Here's Mueller. They didn't have enough evidence to charge certain people in the past, but now they do. In plainer words, the investigation continued on after Mueller left. And this is what I was trying to explain to people. The investigation continued on after Mueller left, and that the real investigation was never the Mueller report. The Mueller report was kind of like a bit of fluff to keep the general population focused, and Mueller did good work, but the main purpose of Mueller's investigation was to do the groundwork and to hand everything over to existing investigations while protecting the integrity of an ongoing investigation. And he pretty much did that. So now all that is done. Most of that is done. So now we can begin the public phase, and the public phase is going to be in front of the American people, and they're going to slowly learn everything. And it looks like there are multiple counts or accusations against Jared, and now they are ready to move towards criminal prosecution. And because the 3 of Pentacles came in, I would go ahead and predict that he's going to make some kind of a deal in exchange for a lesser sentence, which is kind of what I had predicted 2 years ago when we started this. All right, I want to thank everybody who's been supportive of the channel and supportive of Michael and I. We're doing our best. It's difficult because it is a long distance relationship. There's a lot of stress on both of us. So please send love and prayers both to myself and Michael, and please continue to just think positive thoughts in general. If you haven't gotten a t-shirt yet, it's supposed to bring true love if you wear it. So thanks for all the support, everybody. We'll see you next time. And gratitude to Michelle and Ona and Noel, and everyone else who participated as a moderator. We really appreciate the support. Thanks, everyone. Love and light. Bye. Peace out.